Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys, I hope that all of you are doing well. In today's video I'm going to review 3 fragrances from the house of Zimaya that I've had in my collection for quite a while, and I think it's time to do proper review on all 3 of them. The fragrances that are featured in today's video are the first one, Zaya Icon, and this one is a clone of Amouage Epic Man. The second one is called Fairy Tale, and this one is a clone of Kilian's Straight to Heaven. And the third one is called La Rose, and this one is a clone of Kilian's Love Don't Be Shy. I'm going to start with the one that turned out to be the biggest disappointment out of all 3, and that's Zimaya Icon. The packaging looks like this. You get this sort of an outer sleeve that looks like some freshly cut wood. It comes in a darker color. On the front you got the name of the fragrance, the name of the company, the concentration, EDP, the bottle size 100 milliliters, some additional information. On the back there's a production date which it reads August of 2022. In order to get to the bottle, first you need to take out the sleeve and then open up the box, and once you do that you're greeted by the bottle, which has this shape. Especially the cap is very reminiscent to the original Amouage caps. Oh no, the packaging is pretty decent. The note breakdown of Zimaya Icon has the following notes. The top notes are incense, agar oud, leather, patchouli, cedar, sandalwood, musk. The middle notes are pink pepper, olibanum, saffron, nutmeg and cardamom, and the base notes are myrrh and geranium. The note breakdown that I just read to you is very similar to what you get with the original fragrance from Amouage, Epic Man. This is how the sprayer works. It's a pretty decent sprayer, a little bit on the weak side, but sort of does its job. Now onto the scent of Icon from Zimaya. The opening is very incensey, quite a lot of smoky vibes I get in the opening of this fragrance. A bit of spiciness as well, it's quite spicy, and also I pick up a pretty strong leather note right from the first few seconds of the life of this fragrance. There's maybe some of that agar oud as well, although it's not very strong. The opening is quite soft and maybe a little bit on the sharper side because of the amount of spiciness that it has. But the most dominating notes in the opening of this fragrance, to my nose, are that very smoky, incensey note, the leather, and a touch of greenness as well. When this goes into the dry down, the fragrance starts to mellow a little bit, to soften up a little bit more compared to the original. The leather starts to come up a little bit stronger on the dry down. The incense is still there. It's quite a smoky fragrance throughout its life, and also it's quite woody, down to the agar oud note on the dry down. All in all, it's an agar oud slash leather slash incense based fragrance. To my nose, those are the 3 main notes in this fragrance. It's quite leathery, also quite green. Now, I have to be honest with you, I'm not the biggest fan of this DNA. I'm not a huge fan of the original fragrance, and I also don't like Icon that much as well. But I still try to give you a fair assessment on Icon. When it comes to the similarities between this and the original fragrance, it's been quite a while since I've smelled Epic Man, but to my nose the main differences here is that the agar oud note in Icon is not as strong as what I get with the original fragrance. Also the leather note is not as strong as I get with the original fragrance. Also the quality of the leather note is lower in here, and probably this feels a little bit more smoky. The other area where this was a letdown for me was the performance. Unfortunately, Icon turned out to be a pretty weak fragrance. Now the total longevity on skin is not that bad. I get about 6 hours of performance on skin, but where this really seriously lacks is the projection. It's a very soft fragrance, very intimate type of projecting fragrance, and it will project for even less than an hour. For me, that's been sort of the biggest letdown when it comes to Icon. When it comes to the price tag, it's a pretty cheap fragrance. I got it off a site called Makeup. They have a network of websites across Europe, and I paid about 15-16 euros, so it's very cheap. And when it comes to versatility, this is a masculine fragrance that's very oriented towards the colder months of the year. The next one that I'm going to talk about will be Fairy Tale from Zimaya, which of course is a clone of Straight to Heaven from Kilian. This is how the bottle, the box, the fragrance comes packaged. You get this again outer sleeve that covers the actual box. On the front you get the name of the fragrance, the concentration, EDP, the bottle size, 100 milliliters. On the back you get some additional information and a production date, which is April of 2022. And once you take out the sleeve, you open this like a book, and inside is where the bottle is sitting, and this is how the bottle looks. It has a very simplistic shape, but very reminiscent to the original fragrance. The cap is has sort of a metallic coating. It's quite cheap and not a very snug fit. All in all, it's again a pretty decent packaging. Note breakdown of Zimaya Fairy Tale, at least from what I was able to find online, has the following notes. The top notes are Virginia cedar and patchouli. The middle notes are dried fruits, nutmeg, and the base notes are musk, amber, vanilla. So it's a pretty simplistic note breakdown. Again, I'll show you the sprayer in action and then I'll tell you about the scent of Fairy Tale. The sprayer here is a little bit better, although if you do a few continuous spray, it starts to spit out a little bit for some reason, so it's not a very high quality sprayer, although it does its job. And now onto the scent of Fairy Tale. As I said, this fragrance is a clone of Straight to Heaven from Kilian. And actually it's a pretty decent clone, although it has a few differences compared to the original fragrance. The opening here is very, very woody. The cedar wood is a super strong note in this fragrance, and actually, to my nose, this is the backbone. This is, it's all about that very strong cedar wood note in this fragrance. The opening feels a tad bit spicy. There's some sweetness in the opening of this fragrance, maybe something like dry fruits, some fruity sweetness, but just a hint of sweetness from those fruits. Also, a bit of ambery sweetness, and a very strong patchouli note that also is pretty strong from the opening to the dry down. Now the original fragrance has a strong rum note as well, which to my nose Fairy Tale is lacking. Even if there's a rum note in here, I can hardly pick that one up. The more this dries down, the less spicy it becomes, and it becomes even more woody and slightly more sweet on the dry down. The amber sweetness, the dry down to my nose is a mix of the cedar wood, the patchouli and the amber. Oh, it's a nicely done fragrance that comes across very dry, very woody. Gives me a sort of a pencil vibes, like, I'm smelling a pencil from my, school years. Let's call it that. It's a decently done fragrance that I've actually been enjoying, quite a bit. When it comes to similarities between Fairy Tale and the original fragrance from Kilian, I would say that, as I said, Fairy Tale lacks the strong rum note that you get out of the original fragrance. Also, the original fragrance feels a little bit sweeter. The dried fruits there are, quite a lot stronger. In the original fragrance, there's also a bit of a sort of a dark chocolatey vibes, which Fairy Tale is missing. And Fairy Tale, on the other hand, feels a little bit more woody because the cedar wood note in Fairy Tale seems stronger. When it comes to performance, Fairy Tale has been a decent performer. I've been getting about 7 hours of performance with pretty decent projection in the first hour and a half. When it comes to the price tag, I paid about 15, 16, 17 euros, in that neighborhood. Again, I got this one from the makeup website. And when it comes to versatility, this is a unisex fragrance that, to my nose, leans a little bit to the masculine side, unlike the original fragrance, which maybe leans a little bit to the feminine side. And this is definitely, again, a cold weather scent. And on to the last fragrance, which is called La Rose. The packaging here is very similar to to the other fragrance that I just showed you, Fairy Tale. Again, you got this outer sleeve, which in this case is white. Once you take that one out, inside here sits the bottle. On the front you got the name of the fragrance, the concentration, EDP, the bottle size, again 100 milliliters. The production date here is October of 2023. Once you take out the bottle, this is how the bottle looks. It has exactly the same design but with different colors. This one has white accents. Again, a pretty similar cap, plastic cap with metallic coating, although this one is a bit of a snugger fit compared to the previous one. The note breakdown of La Rose has the following notes. The top notes are jasmine, woodsy notes and rose. The middle notes are osmanthus, nectarine and freesia, and the base notes are tuberose, musk and sandalwood. Before I show you the spray of La Rose, let me just tell you that this is a strictly feminine scent, so keep that in mind. This is how the spray works. This probably has the best sprayer out of the three, which I think says enough about quality control when it comes to the brand of Zimaya. And now onto this actual scent. Now this is a fragrance that's very heavy on the white florals. It's quite sweet, so you need to like white florals, floral based fragrances to enjoy this one if you are a girl, or maybe a guy who likes to rock feminine scents. It opens up very floral, very heavy, not heavy but quite strong rose note this fragrance has in the opening. There's pretty much no spiciness in this one, maybe a hint of some woodiness somewhere in the background, and also quite a lot of fruity and vanilla sweetness right after you spray this one. Throughout its life, it retains those floral notes, those sort of tuberose vibes that I get out of this fragrance. They are left throughout the life of this fragrance. On the dry down, it becomes a little bit sweeter. The rose starts to lose a little bit of its strength. On the dry down, I get more of the vanilla sweetness, maybe a hint of musk as well. But all in all, this is a very feminine, sort of light, and sweet fragrance. It's actually not bad, and my wife actually likes this one. When it comes to how close La Rose is to the original fragrance from Kilian, Love Don't Be Shy, I think it's a pretty close. If you are familiar with the original fragrance, you immediately recognize what this one is trying to do. But it lacks a bit of the depth. Also, I think it lacks a bit of the sweetness, and also this has a stronger rose note compared to the original. Here the emphasis is more on the rose note, which sort of gives it a little bit of a Middle Eastern vibe. When it comes to performance, it's been a decently performing fragrance. Again, roughly about 7 hours of performance with nice projection in the first hour and a half. Price tag, again, pretty similar to the other two fragrances, somewhere between 15 to 16, 17 euros. Again, I got this off the makeup website. When it comes to versatility, as I said, this is a strictly feminine scent to my nose, but I think this can be worn pretty much all year round, maybe except to the hottest months of the year. And so guys, in today's video I tried to quickly review 3 fragrances from the house of Zimaya. The first one is called Icon, which is a clone of Amouage Epic Man, and turned out to be a huge disappointment, at least for me, especially because of the performance. The second one, Fairy Tale, a clone of Straight to Heaven, and it's a pretty decently done clone of Straight to Heaven. And the last one, La Rose, which is a clone of Love Don't Be Shy by Kilian, a pretty decent clone again with decent performance and a strictly feminine scent. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in the next one. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.